greetings from Helsinki, and we have just received our first snow, and it's lovely to see all of you there from different parts of the world online. So that's great. And I'm going to give you an introduction to the sustainability transformation as a whole, and I suppose most of it is fairly familiar to you. But let's start with that, and then I'm going to the Finnish situation, and then tell a little bit about that and see maybe what we could use also in the give you some ideas how to move forward. So of course the biggest challenges that we are having are not really the SDGs as such, but the combination that they are in a way causing, and also the key ones that are also affecting the disability of moving forward if we don't take the whole package. So it's the rising inequalities, and we can see this happening even more now, first with COVID and then with the Russian actions, but also for other reasons, of course, what we are having here, biodiversity loss, climate change, and the growing amount of waste. And the second thing that really is so clear that arises from the GSDR 19 report, I think it's still so valid, is this issue that we know very little about the interlinkages between the different ones, but we definitely know that they are both co-benefits as well as trade-offs that needs to be tackled when dealing with the single SDGs when we are trying to move forward with them. And then the third dimension is the high hyperconnectiveness in the world, which really can be seen as footprints, but also as handprints, and it all starts from the flows that we are having, whether it's people's actually lifestyles and human mobility and many other issues of that kind. So we can then continue on these hyperconnectiveness in many different ways, many more than what we are usually talking about. And then also this issue that actually the challenges are in many actors' hands, but so are also the solutions. So it's really crucial of taking everyone on board and make everyone feel that they are allowed to make a difference also to the good direction. So when we are thinking about this picture, which really shows about the winners of today, we can really see that it's not only the big multinational companies that we usually raise, but it's countries themselves. And there is someone that benefits from the fact that countries are really making benefit, and many countries like Finland in a way are also benefiting from the fact that we are having are living in kind of an unsustainable way, especially linked with the economic growth. So the losers are the big component here, and we have the losers of the situation, we have the losers of the change itself, and then we have the losers in the next generation. And before we used to think, and still I must say I fight on this issue when talking about moving forward with sustainability issues, is to see the combination of actually making compromises between environment, society and economy. But we learned already a long time ago that it doesn't really work that way, that the system is such that if you work on compromises and allow only the minimum amount of sustainability for all of them, then it easily goes to the direction that the economy is put as a priority, and that way it's also growing all the time. And we are now in this situation, and we need to stop this situation and get it on the safe and just space for humanity, which really shows where we need to stay. We need to stay in between the planetary boundaries and then the social um, boundaries that are coming from the middle, which I suppose you are also familiar with. So this is what I really like, is to actually, when I'm talking about the SDGs, is to really see them uh, more in this kind of transformative form, where you have in the middle the systems, uh, areas like food and energy and housing and economic system, instead of really looking at the independent and individual SDGs, which no one can really, you can put them as your targets, but you can't really operate them unless you are looking at them from the operational perspective. And here is the picture that we use very much in Finland, which is the house of sustainability transformation. And it really has as the basis, this is the so-called strong sustainability, where the footing of the house is the global environmental commons and their management, that this is something that is the start of everything and should not be compromised. And then the roof of the building is the well-being and capabilities. And here it's not only any kind of well-being, but it's the well-being that is built on sustainability. And that's why we have the walls that are actually the economic system, food system, and energy system, and urban system, that in so many countries of the world are actually the ones that are unsustainable, and where we need most leverage and have the most potential also to transform them into a sustainable stage. And so the uh, in a way, the leverage forms in these are actually not only the governance where we all work, but it's also the economic system, and more so all the time is the finance sector. And the finance actually, at least in Finland, they are very active on this, very interested in that. And then it's the individual and collective action, and then the science base and technology. But science, we really need to push this change forward. So when we are looking at the Finnish situation, we are very much basing it on this so-called donut model. And if we look at our situation, so we have lots of things that are moving forward quite well, but still we have a high burden from the ecological unsustainability, and more so also in our uh, context, also the injustice issue, it's rising all the time. Also sexual gender issues are rising. So in Finland, we have the National Commission for Sustainable Development. That's the oldest one in the world. It was formed in '93, and it has never been stopped in between, and it's been led by Prime Minister since the beginning. There was only one phase when it wasn't, and there are some 120 members and deputies, so it's about 60 actors or sectors of the society that are involved. And the key task is really to speed up the implementation of the SDGs, and also do it in the national context. And I will tell more about that soon. We also monitor and assess the implementation of the agenda. And then at the moment it's our Prime Minister Sanna Marin, and also the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, as well as the Minister of Finance, who are leading it. But there are also other ministers I don't have the picture of that, but we have other ministers involved. Then we have parliamentarians. Then we have representatives from cities, other municipalities and regions, and also the indigenous peoples, the Sami, as well as a demilitarized area of Åland Islands that are part. But then we have also representatives from the business community. Also finances are in this part. And then we have representatives from the civil society uh, fairly broadly in the system, and then the science and technology supporting as well. Why I raise it to you now is that the Commission did a big roadmap work on the Finland's way of moving forward with the sustainable development uh, goals, and so the strategy that was built then became like Finland's strategy for sustainable development, called the Prosperous and Globally Responsible Finland, that protects the carrying capacity of nature. And how this really differs from what we have done earlier is that this is based not only SDGs as such, but actually on systems level, the same way that I showed you the house of sustainability transformation. So these are like systemic transformations that we want to do, and we have 6 areas of transformation that we are working on, and in addition we have a very strong focus in all of them also for the global issues. And actually this is a little bit of a weak point. We do have it in the strategy, but now when we have started to implement, we have realized that we really need to pay attention that we really do this as well. So that's what we are doing, and I will now go through it a little bit. So in addition to all the 6 that I will soon present to you, we have also cross-cutting principles that are fairly familiar, I suppose, to most of you, and they are very typical for Finnish strategies as a whole. So it's promoting fairness, equity, and gender equality, facilitating the inclusion and participation of society at large, and then taking into account the most vulnerable, the leaving no one behind issue. Especially we have different regions in Finland that we really have to pay attention to this issue, but of course also in other terms. And then ensuring the long-term commitment as well as policy coherence. And I think policy coherence is the one that we are mostly talking about now. Finland is kind of strong on that, but then because we have such a long history with sort of governance as a whole, we are fairly much in the silos, which really causes difficulties. And then the bearing global responsibility is here like double. So each single area of transformation that we are working on, we also need to take into account these cross-cutting principles. So if we go through these, so they are not in a specific order, I just tell you them in a certain order. So is the economy and work, promoting well-being and sustainable consumption. So here we want to really bring into this area of transformation, this system, both economy and work at the same time, and then it also links with all the other dimensions from ecology and ecological and human sustainability. So it's very much written in here. So as you can see, the first target is really to bring natural capital and human capital to the center of economic thinking. Second, adaptation and mainstreaming of more sustainable consumption and production methods, and then ensuring the relation of good working life and skilled workshop. So here, the government is really working and struggling and working on this natural capital and human capital, and it is fairly, in a way, in the
in very close planning at the moment that the civil servants are going to do regular work on this, where we plan to have in for budgeting these included. And I know there's many countries that have already also moved into that direction. Well, the second one is then education, competence, and sustainable lifestyles, which is very much looking at this uh, kind of, uh, we call it the socio-ecological Bildung, which means that we bring strongly sustainability issues into human understanding as a whole, and broaden the idea how you should behave towards other humans also, and the responsibility to more broadly to all uh, other living creatures. I'm coming. One moment. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I will stop before four. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm in a cafe and it's really difficult. Yeah. So it's the education, competence, and sustainable lifestyle. And then the third one is the well-being, health, and social inclusion, where I mean it's more like uh, preventing instead of really working on, and people need are already ill, so protective, especially with the nature. Then the fourth one is the food system promoting well-being, and here it's both the production as well as the consumption side, and this is especially very global. And then the fifth one is the forest and water and land use, promoting biodiversity and carbon neutrality, where we focus especially on how we govern these issues in Finland and how inclusive we are to everyone in the society. And the final one is on energy system, and this of course is moving very strongly forward at the moment because of the situation in the world, uh, but it's also uh, supporting especially consumers' right in deciding and taking side on the energy systems. And then finally is the support for the global part. And so I just like to say that we have a vision to each of them, and then we also have a kind of roadmap already thought for the coming years that we use. And the implementation is so that the government is not paying anything. It's kind of a joint effort by the whole society, and we are at the moment very much just motivating everyone to come on board and give presentations, and more so really helping people to find each other and learn from each other and do things together. So here we can see that there are two dimensions that we are working on. I already talked about it. It's the commission, but then we also have the government and then the different ministries, and these are connected that we are doing all the time. I already mentioned that Finland is a big country compared to how many people we are, and the parts are quite different as for so many of you, and we are trying to really focus so that we are taking into account and more making action on the place and not from the capital. And then finally, just would like to say that actually in addition to this big picture, the frame, we need to really make a cultural change, and this requires cultural braveness, and it starts really from actually from the bottom up, and this is a difficult thing because cultural change takes place all the time, and it's not really something someone can lead, but we are very much thinking how we could in a way facilitate so that the cultural transformation takes place to the direction that moves it more to sustainability direction, and very much talk about the remarriage of human and nature. So thank you very much, and I hope the noise didn't disturb you too much. Thank you.